NASA is under heavy fire as the Boeing Starliner that departed for the ISS on June 5th with 2 astronauts on board is yet to return. Because of the ever-rising problems on board that were extremely hazardous, this 8-day mission has been extended to a whopping 60-plus days as of now, and it is not known when NASA will be able to bring back the astronauts, with some estimates stating that they will, most likely, have to wait until early 2025 to be brought back to their families. So, let's slow it down a bit and take a look at what the hell happened. And before we do that, we first need to understand what was this mission actually. You see, the Boeing Starliner mission in question was actually a test flight. This mission was the Boeing Starliner's inaugural crewed mission to the International Space Station. The crew of the Starliner consisted of Butch, Wilmore, and Sunita Williams, 2 seasoned NASA astronauts. The launch of the Boeing Starliner happened on the 5th of June 2024, and the spacecraft docked on the ISS a day later around 1:30 p.m. Initially, everything seemed right. However, after only few hours after its launch, Wilmore and Williams have reported that the Starliner had experienced a few malfunctions and that the status of the spacecraft was rapidly deteriorating. Thankfully, they managed to reach the ISS unharmed, however not before establishing that the Starliner was in such a state of disrepair that returning back to Earth was simply highly unlikely. As a result, both astronauts have been told to sit tight and wait for the cavalry to come, which is yet to happen. So, with that in mind, what in the hell happened with the Starliner? Well, there were a couple of issues actually, and not just one system failing. You see, initially the Starliner's flight seemed okay, however, soon after launch, both Williams and Wilmore noticed that there was quite a bit of issues with the helium leaking out. This led to even more problems with the propulsion systems, with thrusters and propellant valves periodically failing. Thankfully though, the Starliner was built to be redundant, meaning that even if these systems were to fail, the spacecraft would be able to provide the astronauts with other options to subsidize for the lack of a primary powertrain. However, it is not so nice to see that even those alternative propulsion methods have started to malfunction by the time the Starliner had reached the ISS. In fact, the initial docking process has been delayed for an entire hour because 5 thrusters had managed to completely go offline. It's horrifying to even imagine or think about what these 2 brave people were doing and going through when everything went AWOL. And to think that instead of spending 8 days on a mission, they'll now have to spend several months on end away from their families makes us even more angry. As a result, one must ask themselves, can this happen again? Which is why we need to tackle the root of the problem that was previously encountered. You see, the sole reason behind all of these problems is, of course, Boeing's quality and quality control, because how could it not be? Boeing has been going down in terms of quality quite rapidly in the past few years, and their aircraft, most notably their airplanes, have been regarded in recent years as one of the least reliable air vehicles currently available. This lack of thought towards quality has, as we can see, been translated to their spacecraft too. And you know what's the kicker? Despite these issues, despite all of their mishaps in the past few years, Boeing is still delusionally certain that their vehicles, especially the Starliner, have nothing to prove and that they are exceptionally confident in them. Can you even believe this? this. Boeing is once again proving that they are, well, Boeing, and we would be more surprised if they were actually accountable for one time in their entire existence. However, this kind of fallacy and deceit is something we cannot even begin to comprehend, so let's not even waste time on it. There are much more pressing matters that need looking into, the biggest of which is how in the world will NASA bring the astronauts back home? Well, as of now, Williams and Willmore have been told to sit tight and wait for the cavalry to come, whenever that might be. You see, the Starliner has been docked on the ISS for roughly 70 days now, and the limit for this is 90 days in total. This means that if Boeing doesn't find a way to fix it, at least to the point of it being able to return to Earth uncrewed, which, spoiler alert, won't happen, NASA will have to employ a different company for a rescue mission. And you know what the company will be? That's right, SpaceX, Boeing's key competitor. SpaceX is already preparing various tactics for tackling this affair, one of which is bringing the astronauts together with Crew 9 in February 2025, which, as of now, seems like the most likely scenario. As a result, these two brave people will have to remain much longer on the ISS than initially expected, and by all means, it looks like they will miss this year's Halloween and Christmas. Imagine being collateral damage simply because a company was so overconfident with their vehicles that they consistently kept screwing them up. However, rest assured, as even if there are such long delays, these people will surely return safely to Earth eventually, and they will be ready for new space adventures in no time, which we cannot really say for the Starliner. So let's answer the final question of this video, which is, what will happen with the Starliner program? Well, if Boeing manages to fix these issues and at least bring the Starliner back to Earth, there might be just a little bit more life left in this program. However, by the looks of it, the company is so distraught that this scenario is highly unlikely. This means that they will most likely have to rely on SpaceX to bring both the Starliner and the crew back to Earth. And relying on your competition to bail you from your own misdoings is never a good thing, is it? As a result, combining this with the fact that Boeing is widely regarded as one of the least reliable and least trustworthy brands of the 2020s in general, and also concerning how terrifying their build quality has become, we're fairly certain that NASA will have an eventual falling out with the company, and that the Starliner program will eventually wither away. Boeing will then be completely replaced by SpaceX, and this will all in all mark a terrible but a fitting end to a once great company that turned into a ghoul of its former self. What do you think? Will Boeing find a way to get out of this mess, or are they cooked for real this time? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below. Also, while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so that you never miss out on any interesting space news. Until next time.